The hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tavon Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels feared to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into this June 25th live stream here on the Country Roads webcast channel. We're going to talk about the recent recruiting success for WVU. They've done a ton of commitments come in, both, in the 2025 class and a big one for the 2026 class, becoming the second commitment for that class as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we got some roster updates to get into. Transfers, signings have been announced. They're enrolling on campus, and all of the true freshmen that didn't enroll earlier now on campus as well. So we'll talk about a roster update here towards the latter part of the program, but we're going to lead it off talking about some recruiting. Of course, if anyone's in here this morning, doing a rare early morning stream, of course, encourage you, any thoughts you have on any of these commitments, throw them in the chat. Any questions you got there, I'll answer those, touch on those throughout as well. But having said that, we're going to get into some recruiting. I see Jimmy in here. What's going on, Jimmy? Early bird gets the worm. Have a good day too, Jimmy. Hope you have a good day too, brother. Appreciate that, man. But we're going to start it off with some recruiting talk. West Virginia, like I said, slew of success lately. The 2025 class continues to grow. We got to talk a little bit about that here now as well. If I can find the tab here. Hold on. Bear with me for 1 second, guys. Oh, no, I had it pulled up, I thought. Let's see. Where was... There he is. Okay. So first up, Marvin Quesenberry committed to the Mountaineers a few days ago. And this is a guy from Neil Brown's hometown, actually Neil Brown's high school there, Boyle County in Danville, Kentucky. You see the size there, 5'9", 160. So we're talking, slot receiver, but great speed, 4.5, sub 4.5, 40, one of the top players in the state of Kentucky. Spurns, Kentucky, chooses WVU, coming to play for the Mountaineers. As you see there, number 7 player in Kentucky, number 5 in the composite score there from 247. Also, a top 125 receiver in the country. And, when he was at camps, he really just showed great route running ability, the ability to get open. I think he's going to be prototypical slot receiver that you can really count on down the line. So I'm excited about this commitment. I know it's only a 3-star, but it still is one of my favorite ones that we've picked up yet in this class. As you can see here, several offers from other programs. Like I said, beat out Kentucky, beat out Louisville, decides on West Virginia. West Virginia lands a player from Neil Brown's hometown there in Marvin Quesenberry. So let's take a look now at some of his highlights as well. Live react to some of these highlights of these commits as we get to them. Next up is Quesenberry here. Or I guess first up, rather. Let's see what we got. There you see the speed on showcase already. And then, of course, tipping the ball and grabbing it off the tip. And then, of course, the speed to break away and score the touchdown. That's what we're talking about with him, is the quick twitch ability. We're talking about the speed. He can make you miss. And like I said, he does really great job of getting open as well with the great route running ability. And here's some special teams work. We love to see this. We know West Virginia is in need of kick returners in the future. This could be a guy that is, in contest for that spot when he gets to campus here in another year or so. But there you see it again, and outrunning everyone there. Even the ones with the angle can't catch him as he runs back that kickoff for the touchdown there. One more play here from Quesenberry we can check out. Right here he is on defense this time, going up high point in the football and making a great grab. So you can see the athleticism there on both sides of the ball there, both on offense and on defense. So Montavon Quesenberry committed to the Mountaineers. And then we had Chris Filippo. He actually had previously been committed to James Madison, if I'm not mistaken, but flips to West Virginia. West Virginia doing a good job flipping some of these prospects, in recent classes. This past class, they did that with Day Farmer, who's a receiver they're already raving about. But Chris Filippo, I think he's prototypical fit for the spear position at WVU. You see him listed as a linebacker. Some places list him as a safety, but I think he's looking at someone that's probably going to play that spear here at WVU, and it's a good pickup here. 3-star rating, top 120 player in the state of Pennsylvania, another borderline state. We know West Virginia has done a great job not only locking down West Virginia, but doing a great job in those borderline states as well. And he's one of the top 30 players in the state of Pennsylvania there. 87 rating, that's a high-rated 3-star there. As you can see, picking West Virginia over some other schools. Like I said, James Madison, he previously announced a commitment there, switches to WVU. But let's take a look at some of his highlights now as well from his junior season here. And let's take a look. Sub 4.5 40, so that's impressive as well, that he has that type of speed and could really be a beneficial for him, playing that spear position, which I see him projecting to at WVU as we get into a couple of his highlights here, live react to those. There you see him on the back end of the defense. Here he comes screaming down, an absolute prototypical tackle right there, wraps up, drives into the ground. That's what you like to see. Here he is playing the deep safety yet again. Look at the closing speed there. That play gains maybe a yard, and he's coming all the way from the back end on a sweep play and making that tackle. Same thing here. Another sweep, and he gets there, before the running back can even get, halfway to the first down marker. It drives him back and rips the football out. Here he is on offense, of course, playing both ways as you do in high school. You can see a little bit of his athleticism there, though, after he catches the pass, and you see that sub 4.5 speed that they're talking about that's really going to help him, I think, play in that spear position for WVU. And one more highlight here on the defensive side. They set up a tunnel screen. He reads it perfectly, diagnoses it, not only makes a tackle, but yet again forces a fumble. So I'm really excited about Chris Filippo. As you see from some of the highlights there, you can see why. He definitely, may not have the offer list of some of these other commits, but I think that's one of those diamond in the roughs that West Virginia probably has found now. And then next up, we had Michael Hasty, linebacker commit for the 2025 class as well. This one I think fits more as, previously known as the bandit, now the spur position. I think he's a good fit coming out of Georgia. West Virginia, getting the last couple of commitments they got from Georgia, this one here in the 2025 class. Then we'll talk about that 2026 commit here momentarily, and it's a big one, a very highly rated quarterback. But first, we got to talk about Michael Hasty. Like I said, I think he'll fit as a spur / bandit, like they're called spurs now. But, listed as an edge here, 6'3", 230, so great size already coming in. Another 3-star prospect with an 86 grade, so that's a high-end 3-star there. Top 120 player in the state of Georgia, top 90 edge in the country. So, another highly regarded prospect West Virginia is able to land in this class, picking West Virginia over some other schools as you see there. Let's take a look at some of his highlights now, and then we can get to the 2026 commit momentarily. But first, let's take a look at some of the junior season highlights of Michael Hasty. I believe he played running back in high school as well, or plays running back in high school as well. If I can get the video to play here. There he is. This is a linebacker highlight for him, of course, is what we kind of want to see because that's where he's going to be at for WVU there. You see him coming in there, breaking that pass up, tipping it to himself, and making the interception. And, of course, knows what to do with it, takes it completely the other way. 4-6 there. Good play by Michael Hasty. Great ball skills, makes a play on the ball, tips it to himself, and then shows the athleticism, the ability to turn that into a scoring play. Here he is again, lined up at the linebacker spot, matched up in pass coverage, reads the quarterback's eyes, makes the play again. There are 2 interceptions, to start off the highlight package for Michael Hasty. And both of those interceptions, he takes all the way back as well. So showcases the fact that he's a running back in high school with some of those, highlight speed and highlight athleticism to be able to score touchdowns on those plays. Here he is again, the linebacker position, this time diagnosing the run and making an absolute prototypical tackle, wraps up, drives the running back into the ground. And just for good measure, let's take a look at his highlight on offense here to wrap up his little highlight package. Like I said, you can find these on Huddle if you'd like to watch the whole thing. But there you see some of the size and strength on display as well. No one's going to tackle Michael Hasty as he gets into the end zone from the running back position there. So a good pickup for WVU yet again in the 2025 class, which brings me to our recruiting tracker here on the CRW. Those were the 3 latest commits that West Virginia picked up in this 2025 class. So this class nearing its completion now. West Virginia well on its way. What are we, about 5-6 months away from signing day? West Virginia hopefully can sign all of these prospects, because if they can, they have a really good class in tow here with these 3 recent additions. Of course, I've got videos out on each one of these commitments. You can find it in the recruiting playlist here on the channel. But as you see here, that's the list with the most 3 recent additions, the ones we just talked about: Marvin Quesenberry, Chris Filippo, and Michael Hasty joining the class. But they weren't the only ones. West Virginia even dipped into that 2026 class, got a huge commitment from a quarterback that is one of the highest rated quarterbacks West Virginia has ever secured a commitment from. So this is no small feat. We're talking enough about them absolutely killing it on the recruiting trail with this 2025 class, but now even in 2026 they have 2 commitments in tow, and both of them I think very talented, especially this most recent one. So we got to talk about him. Let's talk about Brody McCarter, the quarterback West Virginia just landed in this 2026 class. 4-star player on the 247 composite site, nearly 90 rating, top 20 quarterback in the country, one of the top 30 players in the state of Georgia entirely. And we know how talented the state of Georgia is. Also, if you look on Rivals, he's a Rivals 250 recruit. I think he's 137 there. He is the highest rated quarterback West Virginia's landed on Rivals. We're using 247 Sports here for this. That's the one I usually like to use, but you can look on either site and see he's highly regarded no matter how you spin it. And a absolutely killer offer list. Like we said, choosing West Virginia over some big programs. If we hit view complete team list here and pull it up, you can see Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Louisville, Michigan State, NC State, Nebraska, Ohio State, Oregon, on down the list there, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Alabama. All of these programs are after Brody McCarter, but he decides and lands on WVU there. So having said that, now let's take a look at some of his highlights. Like I said, haven't watched these yet, so it's a live reaction with you guys. But let's take a look at Brody McCarter and see how he stands out here with some of his sophomore season highlights. Obviously, this is his 2026 commit, so he's in his junior, about to be going into his junior season now. So these are only his sophomore season highlights, so got to keep that in mind as well. But the fact that he's that highly regarded already is no small feat. So let's take a look here at Brody McCarter. All right, here we see a nice drop back, little shoulder fake, and then a deep ball right there on the money in the back of the end zone. That's a pretty deep ball that he threw there. See him get out on the rollout here, throwing against his body and puts it in the perfect position in the front of the end zone for his man to make a play. That's impressive. And this is what we like to see as well. Some running highlights for Brody McCarter. Of course, we know West Virginia loves the dual threat quarterbacks. They're going to continue to recruit those dual threat quarterbacks. And Brody McCarter looks like he'll be able to make some plays with his feet as well when he gets onto campus. There's another beautifully placed deep ball. And then here he is again, fakes the jet sweep, finds the hole, and gets into the end zone. Loving what I'm seeing from Brody McCarter here. I think that he's got a chance to be a really star player here at WVU. And West Virginia is absolutely loaded in the quarterback room for the next few years. You're talking Nico Marchiol, you're talking Ryder Burton, you're talking Khalil Wilkins, and now Brody McCarter, who's more highly regarded than any of those other ones that we already have been, very impressed with and we are big fans of. There he goes, beating the defender to the end zone with the angle. You see a little bit of the speed as well. It's not just the arm talent. He also has great athleticism right there. Fits that one into a tight window on the run. Let's take a look at one more play here. Pocket breaks down. He gets out, rolls out, finds a man in the back of the end zone in another tight window there. So I'm really excited about Brody McCarter, guys. I know you guys probably are as well. Huge pickup for WVU here, very highly regarded. With that, let's take a look now at the 2026 recruiting tracker here on the CRW. And we do have a couple of pickups here thus far. We've got a video out on Davion Taylor that came out right after the spring game. He committed at the spring game, actually. He is in the class as a linebacker out of Pennsylvania. And then, of course, now Brody McCarter joins him there as a quarterback out of the state of Georgia and the highest rated commit in that 2026 class thus far. That's really made the class rankings shoot up for West Virginia. Let me show you a little bit about what I'm talking about here for the 2026 class. And, of course, how much they've been killing it on the 2025 class as well. Keenan Cummings put out this tweet yesterday following the commitment of Brody McCarter. The current 2025 WVU recruiting class is 19th nationally, so in the top 20 in the upcoming class. But then just off the commitment of Brody McCarter alone, joining Davion Taylor, the 2026 class is already rated number 13 in the nation with only 2 commits. So that shows you how highly regarded that Brody McCarter is. As Rivals has West Virginia ranked in the top 15 in the 2026 class and in the top 20 with this upcoming 2025 class. So excellent job by West Virginia here on the recruiting trail thus far. Wanted to come on here and talk about that for sure. Jimmy says that quarterback y'all got might be better than Nico. He's more highly rated recruiting wise. We'll have to see how he pans out when he gets on campus. But I think West Virginia is certainly in good hands at the quarterback position. You know, you look down the line, you can go from Garrett to Nico to Ryder Burton to, you know, either Khalil Wilkins or Brody McCarter, whoever wins the job down the line. And West Virginia has, you know, a solid set of quarterbacks if they can keep them all around to where they all can have their time in the sun here as Mountaineers down the road. And that's very exciting to see. Not only landing these, you know, talented quarterbacks and talented players, but, you know, doing it in a way that, hey, you know, you're a class behind this guy, you're a class behind this guy. You can all have your chance if you stick it out with this program, which we've seen, you know, that paid dividends thus far. Garrett Green's done that. Now he's going to be, you know, a 2-year starter that's put up great numbers in his first year, and who knows how far that ceiling is for this upcoming year. And then Nico can do the same, and then you can follow that on down the line. So really excited about how this recruiting is panning out for West Virginia, especially at the skill positions and such. But having said that, now let's talk a little bit about some roster updates. We've talked about, you know, some of the true freshmen that are on campus, but West Virginia's also announced a lot of additions of transfers. Let me pull up these official announcements from the university. First up, Kikora Tarnu has been announced to join the program as a safety. That's one. And then we have as well Justin Robinson, the wide receiver transfer coming over from Mississippi State when he was at Georgia before that as well. Very highly regarded receiver, tall body, 6'4", 220 guy. It's going to play on the outside for you. He's officially on campus as well. And then we have, of course, we were talking about quarterbacks, so Ryder Burton, of course, fits right along with what we're talking about. The transfer from BYU coming in now as a redshirt freshman, being the 3rd scholarship quarterback on this roster that is now actually at 4 scholarship quarterbacks. More on that in a moment. 6'2", 205 redshirt freshman he will be. And then, of course, also the other transfer that was announced for the Mountaineers is at the cornerback position, and that is Dontez Fagan. He was recently added. He's a redshirt senior as well. He's coming over from Charlotte. He's officially at the university. And then lastly, the other transfer signing that was announced, of course, is a tight end that's going to help the Mountaineers. Greg Genros, one of the highest rated JUCO tight ends in the country, gives West Virginia another 6'7" weapon to, you know, go with Cole Taylor and Traylon Davis. Cole Taylor also 6'7". So 6'7", 230, Greg Genros coming over from Dodge City Community College, now on the roster. So with that being said, we have those guys coming, and we, of course, now have all of the true freshmen that are upcoming this year that didn't enroll early are now on campus. So that means it's time to pull up our roster tracker here on the CRW, and I'll highlight each of these new additions to the roster, and we'll continue to, you know, mold this roster as we get closer into fall camp. We see, you know, some of these guys may be playing at different spots than we have them on this initial roster, but that's what these roster updates are for, to, you know, update position changes. And then, of course, when we get closer to the season, we can do, you know, this into more depth chart updates. For now, they're just kind of listed in descending order in terms of their class. So, you know, the highest, you know, year in the class all the way down to the lowest is how I've got these listed within positions. Starting here at quarterback, I'm going to highlight the new ones that have been added. Of course, we just talked a little bit about Ryder Burton, the transfer coming over from BYU. Of course, he's there at the quarterback position now as a redshirt freshman. And you see what I'm talking about with the separation of these classes, right? You have Garrett Green is a senior, Nico Markiel's a redshirt sophomore, Ryder Burton's a redshirt freshman, and Khalil Wilkins is a freshman. So they're all separated by at least 1 year, sometimes 2. But that's good to have. You don't want those, you know, a lot of those quarterbacks in the same classes. That's what leads to, you know, transfer issues and such. But Khalil Wilkins, of course, highly regarded recruit. A lot of people are excited about. 6'4", 190-pound lefty from the state of Maryland. Another dual threat prospect that people are excited to see what happens with him down the line. I think he's got a high ceiling, a little bit, you know, diamond in the rough, if you will, a hidden gem. I think West Virginia may have found at the quarterback position like they've done in the past. When you look at guys like, Garrett Green, who's your starter last year, going to be your starter this year. West Virginia, was on him from the beginning. Neil Brown and them recruiting him back at Troy and then here to WVU as well. And they think they found another good quarterback in Khalil Wilkins. And it's going to be nice to see, him, Ryder Burton, Nico kind of battle it out after Garrett and see what's going on. Because I think all three of those quarterbacks are really talented. But Ryder Burton and Khalil Wilkins, the new additions to the quarterback room. But then, of course, we come down here to the running back room. We know about C.J. Donaldson, Jalen Anderson, and Jaheim White, obviously. But we have two freshmen now going to be joining them on campus, Dior Hubbard and Trayvon Dunbar. Both of these guys, I think, have a lot of talent. Trayvon Dunbar, a little bit bigger. He's 5'10", 200 pounds, out of the state of South Carolina. And then you get Dior Hubbard, 5'11", 190, a bit shiftier back out of Ohio. Both those guys, great potential. And we know what West Virginia has done, finding running backs that have really been studs, past two seasons. 2 years ago, you look C.J. Donaldson bursting on the scene as a true freshman. Last year, Jaheim White does the same thing. So West Virginia has done a great job finding freshman running backs. Don't think that either one of these two will have to be counted upon as much as long as, Jalen Anderson sticks around as that third running back. But we do know West Virginia will need a third running back. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, can't forget to mention, the preferred walk-ons. I will not show them on this roster. This is only scholarship players just to make it, for brevity purposes and easier to keep up with. That's kind of how I do my roster updates here. I'm sure you guys know that have been following along for a while now. But we also have a couple walk-ons that could get in the mix there, Clay Ash and Judah Price, who you saw in the spring game. And then come down here to wide receiver. Of course, we just mentioned Justin Robinson, one of the guys that just transferred in, coming over from Mississippi State. He was at Georgia before then. What Neil Brown loves having that, tall, big body on the outside. Justin Robinson's going to fit that mold, going to have a chance to compete, and we'll see what happens when we get into fall camp of how much he gets into that starting role, because there's going to be a lot of competition for those starting roles between, Robinson, Jaden Bray, Hudson Clement, Traylon Ray. All those guys, I think, are, competing on the outside there for the Mountaineers. And then, of course, we have the freshmen that have joined the roster now as well. 4 of them, Brandon Raymond, Day Farmer, Dom Collins, and Keyshawn Robinson. Keyshawn Robinson, of course, in-state recruit, coming from WV, one of the top recruits in the state of West Virginia. West Virginia doing a great job locking down those in-state recruits ever since Neil Brown got here, continuing that trend with this 2024 class. Keyshawn Robinson there joining the wide receiver group. Then you get Brandon Raymond, who was a 4-star prospect, according to some sites, coming over from the state of Pennsylvania. And then, of course, Dom Collins, another in-state recruit that was a big-time pickup for West Virginia down here where I'm from in Mercer County, and he has absolute blazing speed. We're talking a 4.2-something 40-yard dash that he ran when he was on campus. And we know West Virginia, I talked about needing kickoff returners. I think that he's a guy that may have a chance to compete for that spot, and that may be his route to early playing time at West Virginia is via special teams and getting involved as a kick returner, maybe because he's very explosive at doing that in his time in high school. So hopefully he's able to continue that. And then, of course, Day Farmer is one we've got to talk about. West Virginia flips him on signing day from UCF to WVU, another absolutely speedy guy, 5'11", 170, from the state of Florida. West Virginia's had great success with those players out of Florida. West Virginia steals them, from UCF's backyard, comes to Morgantown, has now enrolled, and already, throughout summer workouts, you've heard the coaching staff kind of raving about him a little bit. So I think if one of these freshmen is going to get involved in the receiver rotation this year, look no further than Day Farmer. He's the guy you'll probably see do that. He's highly regarded, and I think he has a chance to get on the field right away, despite West Virginia having, a pretty stacked room here, or a pretty deep room, I guess you could say. I think Day Farmer has a chance. And then we move on to tight end. We talked a little bit about Greg Jenross coming over from Dodge City Community College. Hopefully he gets a chance to get involved this year. We'll see how quickly he acclimates. But either way, this is going to be Cole Taylor's last season with the Mountaineers. So even if it takes him, kind of a year to have an adjustment period, next year you're going to have a 6'7" tight end able to step right into the shoes that Cole Taylor had these past 2 seasons and continue that role. So I think he has a chance, though, to get on the field this season as, West Virginia's kind of second pass-catching tight end. We know Traylon Davis is going to be on the field a lot, but he's more used in kind of blocking aspects where Cole Taylor's the more pass-catching option. They're looking to add a second pass-catching option. I think Greg Jenross is going to be an option there, but don't sleep on Will Dixon either. They really like him a lot. And then, of course, Jackson Marco is on, but he was on campus for the spring, so he's already been around. Then we go down here to the offensive line. I have Lucas Austin currently listed at left tackle. I believe he's going to play tackle for the Mountaineers. They added a couple guys that may play tackle, but true freshman Lucas Austin has joined the roster now as well. 6'7", 270-pounder, so great height coming in. Got to put on a little bit of weight, obviously, out of the state of Illinois, but he's, a future offensive lineman prospect for the Mountaineers. We'll move on down, no changes at left guard. And then at center, here's where we get into Kyle Altuner. And you've heard me rave about this guy. You've heard my friend Mountaineer Paul rave about this guy. I think that West Virginia is not going to need to count on any true freshmen this year to really contribute. But if someone does break through there and have a chance to get into that too deep, it's Kyle Altuner. Because I think that he's West Virginia's center of the future, in my opinion. 6'3", 290 pounds, out of the state of Maryland. And I think he's going to probably battle Landon Livingston for that second string spot right away. In my personal opinion, he's going to have a chance to get on that too deep. And I think maybe as early as 2025, he could be the West Virginia center of the future. We'll see what happens. But they really do like Kyle Altuner. And so do I. No changes at right guard. And then at right tackle, we've added Justin Terry, another true freshman tackle that joins the roster. A little bit better on the weight size. Him and Lucas Austin have similar height. He's 6'6". Lucas Austin, we just talked about, 6'7". But Justin Terry already over 300 pounds out of the state of Ohio, joining this roster for the Mountaineers. Now we flip it over and we're just going to talk a little about the defense and some of the new bodies that have been added to the defensive side since the end of spring football practice. No changes on the defensive end position. All of these guys were here for the spring. Same goes for defensive tackle, as Elijah Kinsler was an early enrollee here for the spring. Nate Gabriel, same thing. He was here for the spring as well. So then we get down here to the spur position, formerly known as the bandit position. Of course, Tyron Bradley and Ty French are going to kind of be your go-to guys there. Abinan Wuka was here for the spring. He was a 4-star recruit that West Virginia added, enrolled early. But now we've added Mekhi Byerson. I've got him listed here with the Spurs. I think he's got a chance to either be a defensive end or a spur. I like him as a spur initially, just coming in before he can get more weight on. Let's see if he ends up there or not. But 6'5". Great height, 230 pounds, out of the state of Virginia. So yet again, we talk about those borderline states, and Mekhi Byerson from one of those. He's an edge rusher. We'll see if he ends up as a spur or as a defensive end. For now, we've got him listed as a spur on our roster, and we'll change that accordingly as we move forward. Then we get into the linebackers here. West Virginia did add a couple of freshmen. Curtis Jones Jr., another in-state recruit, one of the top ones in the state of West Virginia in the class of 2024. The Mountaineers land him, 6'2", 210 pounds. And then Ricky Williams, no relation, and no, not that Ricky Williams, but a highly regarded prospect with kind of prototypical size at the linebacker position. You don't see West Virginia bring in many linebackers that weigh 230 pounds as freshmen, and he's 6'2", out of the state of Ohio. So I think, with that size, he's going to be able to carve a path to playing time sooner rather than later. I don't think that'll be this year. You see West Virginia with a pretty deep group. They brought in Reed Carrico. We got Trotter coming in now finally. Last year, he probably would have been a starter. So I think West Virginia's linebacking core is probably severely underrated right now. I think that they have a lot of talent there at the linebacker position, and they've added those two freshmen there. Then, of course, Spear, no changes. Zay Jennings was there on campus already, as a freshman, enrolled early, was here for spring practice, and they really like him. Zay Jennings is going to play this fall, guys. You're going to see him get on the field some. I think it's going to happen. But now down to cornerback, where we do have the new additions. Dantes Fagan, we just talked about a little bit, transferring in from Charlotte. Going to be a redshirt senior there. He's going to compete at this cornerback spot. West Virginia has a ton of bodies here, and they're going to let them all kind of battle it out to form the best two deep that they can. But the positive side of that is West Virginia is never going to be in the position that they were last year, where they just kind of had to count on, their starters and kind of have them be Iron Man and play a ton of snaps. Now, West Virginia has plenty of bodies this year that they're going to have a solid two deep, and they're going to be able to rotate some of these cornerbacks as well, I believe, especially once, Spells and Crandall come back from their injuries. That's really going to help. But Dantes Fagan is the transfer that joins here. And then you got two freshmen here. Keon Washington, who is coming in, I think, to play the cornerback position for sure, if I'm not mistaken. 6 foot, 175-pounder out of the state of Maryland. And then you got Chris Henry, who was recruited as an athlete. I don't know if he's going to be a receiver or a defensive back necessarily yet. We'll see once we get in the fall camp. He may switch over. We may have him at receiver. No, it's not Chris Henry's son. It's no relation, just the same name. But he's out of the state of Florida, 6 foot, 185-pounder. We'll see where he ends up for now. I've got him listed as a corner. He could play receiver, though. Then a free safety, no changes here. Israel Jacob Boyce was on campus as an early enrollee as a freshman. And I do want to mention, of course, I talked about some of these positions will change when we do future roster updates, and I think that's really true for the safety spot because a lot of these guys are being cross-trained. Aubrey Burks can play all three positions. Jaheim Joseph can probably play free and spear, maybe even some cat. And then when you get down here to the cat safety position, of course, Anthony Wilson's there. I've got Jason Cross here. Who knows? He may end up at free safety, but that's another true freshman that's joined the mix is Jason Cross, another recruit from this 2024 class. This one's out of the state of Pennsylvania, 6'2", 170-pounder that joins the roster. And then we have Kokora Tarnu. This one is really interesting to me because I didn't know that he was coming to play safety. He kind of played cornerback exclusively at Jacksonville State, but he's a guy that's kind of newer to football, but has really came on strong, very highly rated by PFF grades and everything else. I think it's an interesting move, West Virginia using him as a safety, but kind of smart with all the defensive back bodies that we were talking about with the cornerbacks. He may have been stuck in the mix there. But here at safety, he's got a chance to compete with Anthony Wilson here or even compete with Jaheim Joseph at the free safety spot and has a chance to be on the two deep, whether it's a cat or free. I think you're going to see Kokora Tarnu as a potential starter maybe even on this defense. Once we get into fall camp, he's got really good potential. So, don't sleep on Tarnu as well at the safety position. No changes at kicker, punter, or long snapper. So there's a look at the roster. I'll kind of slowly scroll back through it so you can get some more looks at it if you want to there. But we've added, all of the true freshmen. We've added all of the transfers in as well. I think that West Virginia did a great job, securing defensive back bodies. That's something that we needed. That was the need for West Virginia. They have a ton now. We just have to hope that they all mesh well with so many new faces there involved in the secondary. Hopefully, it all works out team chemistry-wise. If it does, I think there's plenty of talent there for West Virginia's secondary to be greatly improved. I'm not expecting the defensive line or linebackers to take a step back. I talked about the linebackers being probably the most unheralded unit on this team. They have a ton of talent there. People are going to be really impressed with the linebackers. So I think West Virginia's defense has a chance to take a step forward this year. And if they do, this team's going to be very scary because we know the offense is going to be there, particularly the run game. You got to develop the passing game a little bit more, but I think that's going to come with some of these receivers now getting more experience, plus adding some experienced bodies in Jaden Bray and Justin Robinson. But I think that we're set for a very exciting 2024 season. And as we get into fall camp, I'll continue to track this roster and any changes. I'll put up future roster update videos and always date those so you can kind of keep track with those. But there'll also be a playlist on the channel titled 2024 roster updates if you need to check that out. But that's pretty much all I had, guys. Just wanted to cover, the recent recruiting additions for West Virginia. They're absolutely killing it in the 2025 class. 3 more prospects out of there, and of course, an absolutely huge get for the 2026 class and quarterback Brody McCarter as well. Wanted to cover that also, but having said that, I appreciate you guys, checking out this one whether you watched it live or probably a better chance you'll be checking it out on playback since it's an early morning live stream. But either way, I appreciate you tuning in. Either way you choose to do so. If you're a WVU football fan, be sure to subscribe. Here, we're going to be covering the team a ton in the lead up to the start of fall camp, always covering recruiting and roster updates. We get into the season depth chart updates, snap counts, injury reports, all that good stuff. So keep it locked in here to the CRW if you're a fan of Mountaineer football. And whether you watch this live or on a playback, you can really do me a favor just by hitting that thumbs up button before you head out. Helps a ton with that YouTube algorithm. And if you didn't get a chance to, tune in live and chat with me here, throw your thoughts in the comments, trying to interact with you there. Always appreciate those interactions as well here on the CRW. But having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers.